Minecraft has many amazing buildings and structures to find and explore. Some of these include desert temples, NPC villages, jungle temples, strongholds, pillager outposts and more. It seems Mojang love to give us exciting new places to seek out, but what if you've already explored all of the wonders of the Minecraft world? That's where the custom structures and structure mods from the community come handy. MCDungeon. Less of a specific structure mod and more of an actual software or tool, MCDungeon is a program written in Python that allows for generating brand new variants of dungeons in a pre-made or new world. There's a lot of potential with this tool and the variations of dungeons are endless. It adds dungeons as well as brand new treasure hunting quests to your maps, and it's a really unique tool to spice up your world without using real mods. You can generate dungeons to fill up the map completely with, or choose how many you want to generate with room layouts based off configuration, and the tool will automatically place dungeons by finding a cool location on the map by range, size and depth. And the good thing about this tool is it will not actually overwrite your pre-existing player structures which you've actually built yourselves, and it shouldn't overwrite structures such as villages, strongholds and pre-existing spawns on the map. It's a really nice tool to check out if you want to do dungeon crawling. Draylar's Battle Towers. This awesome little mod is a remake of the popular Battle Towers mod by author Draylar, and it adds some awesome gigantic towers into the overworld, each that have many different floors and stages to complete, with different types of enemies and loot to take as well. There's also a big boss at the final stage, which is the final floor. Battle Towers spawn all across the land with this mod with high rarity, although this can be changed with a config. This is so that the dungeon towers are not extremely common like some other mods, and so it's rewarding to find one. A lot of other mods spawn too many on the overworld, which makes them ruin the look of the landscape and makes them less rewarding to actually find. Each floor is pretty hard to tackle, with there being around 10 to 13 floors total in each tower by default, with different designs and appearances of each tower. On the floors you will find boss keys in the loot chest, which can be redeemed on the boss chest at the very top of the tower. It's just an all-round fun mod that adds a bit more fun to your world when exploring and being an adventurer. FloatingRuins. A slightly older mod, the FloatingRuins mod is a 1.7.10 mod that adds brand new floating islands to the skies which have been uprooted from the ground. All of the shapes of the islands and block appearances are based upon the biomes they spawn in, and each island has a small dungeon with a mob spawner. They are dungeon islands which have different structures on them, such as small pyramids, igloos, wooden houses and more. There's a different range of islands such as the grass island, mushroom floating islands, sand pyramid islands and a cobblestone type with a lot more different ones. It's a pretty unique mod, and it's really cool how the floating island is actually uprooted from the floor itself. If you look at the ground below the islands, there's a huge gaping hole below to show where the actual ground and turf came from. It's a really cool mod and a unique one, although it hasn't been upgraded for a long time. So if you want to play this, you're going to have to play on version 1.7.10 or use it for a mod pack on that version. Millenaire. The Millenaire mod has been a long time running project that aimed to improve the Minecraft world by offering a village solution, long before the standard NPC villages that we have nowadays. Basically its aim is to add NPC villages to the world and improve off the standard vanilla Minecraft villages. It adds historical based villages such as Japanese, Mayan, Norman and many more pre-generated independent villages that have traders to trade with you, quests given by the NPCs and more to offer. Each village is populated by men, women and children, making it more realistic than the vanilla Minecraft villages. And these NPCs farm crops, craft tools and weapons and trade. As villages expand, villager numbers will increase in size with more children who eventually actually grow up into older NPCs, and you can become the leader of a village and help to expand it and build more upon it. It's a really nice interactivity mod that has a lot of cool structures in the form of brand new towns and villages, and it integrates really well into vanilla Minecraft. Prefab. This mod is not a natural structure spawner, but more so a solution to quick base building. The Prefab mod is a collection comprising of many different looking buildings with different purposes to them that you can create instantly in your world with things such as houses, barns and stables. There's a lot of nice different builds that you can create with this mod, and there's a pretty wide range or selection of different houses and buildings you can put down, each of them being made by different materials such as brick, wood, cobblestone and more. You can completely skip the tiresome tasks of building your bases, and it even lets you preview the build upon the current block you're standing at to see how much space it will take up and where you will actually be placing it. All you have to do is pick your base schematic that you want to use out of a selection of different categories and pick your plot and preview it before placing it down. It's inspired by the original starter house mod, and it's a really nice addition to your modded world to have a quick start. Additional structures. The additional structure mod adds a collection of over 80 or more brand new structures of both small and medium sizes that spawn in the overworld to expand your world. Some are extremely basic and some more complex, but it adds more spice to your game to make everything a little less boring by filling up biomes and zones with brand new structures and objects. It also supports biome mods such as Biomes O'Plenty, Biome Bundle and Traverse, all of these which are mods that I featured in my Minecraft top 10 best biome mods video, which you can check out on the channel. The mod has a configuration to control the spawning probability of each structure, and the structures don't just spawn in vanilla and modded biomes but also in the end as well, with the nether being a future possibility if the mod's updated again. The structures such as larger cacti crops, dead desert trees, camps in the woods, brand new pyramids in the desert and forest of Egyptian and Aztec theme and style, altars and many more buildings and objects which are added in this mod. It basically just makes the world more varied and less boring and bland because it adds a huge collection of different objects and buildings. Minecolonies. The Minecolonies mod is an expansive town building mod that lets you start your own towns within Minecraft, which is roughly inspired by reality. When you create a town, you can have different types of NPC workers which each help and contribute, each of these with their own tasks and goals. These are guards, miners, cooks, fishermen, farmers, blacksmiths, and a lot of other roles which I haven't actually mentioned. There's also a range of buildings with special purposes such as the town hall, warehouses and more. The mod works in single player as well as in multiplayer with a brand new permission system to support it. This mod is really unique and adds life into your world by inhabiting it with more friendly NPCs that help you out and to help towns thrive by actually contributing. In normal NPC villages, the NPCs don't really do much other than trade. Obviously they've started to make villages better, but this mod actually makes villagers have a purpose and actually do something and help you out. Ruins. The structure spawning system. The Ruins mod spawns a collection of new structures to newly generated Minecraft worlds, which are similar to how villages and strongholds naturally spawn in your world. Each and every new structure within the mod is configurable as to how it spawns, and there's a giant collection of structures which are added using this pack. The great thing about this mod is you can also convert your own structures that you've built yourself personally by using MCEdit to convert them to the Ruins mod format to actually include an import with the mod. The mod improves the adventure experience in Minecraft by offering the player many more things to find, as all of the structures are randomly generated in different parts of the world. Some ruins can be randomized and have great loot in them, and some can be extremely dangerous, and there's just a lot to explore in this mod. There's floating castle islands, gigantic tree bases, mossy temples, and a lot more. There's a lot of different things which this mod adds to make things just that little more different and unique. Doomlike Dungeons. The Doomlike Dungeons mod is a dungeon crawler mod that's heavily based around the classic game Doom. Basically it creates generated levels with tight passageways and box-like levels with mob spawners in. The dungeons are huge and much larger than standard vanilla Minecraft dungeons, and there's a large amount of loot. However, the dungeons are a lot harder too, making them a challenge. There's many multiple mob spawners as well as an equal amount of chests to accompany them to make the experience rewarding when looting after tackling enemies. These multi-level dungeons are both complex and also tough to complete, and they spawn not only on the above ground but also underground and underwater. This mod is really awesome for dungeon crawling, and fans of Doom and those old 2D style dungeon crawlers will be a huge fan of the Doomlike Dungeons mod. If you're bored of the small standard dungeons, then this mod may be for you, but beware because since they're so big, it actually has a lot of mob spawners. There'll be a ton of mobs which you actually have to defeat throughout these dungeons. Roguelike Dungeons. This is another dungeon crawling structure spawner mod, which is the Roguelike Dungeons mod. It's inspired by types of games of the same name, and it adds vanilla style multi-tiered dungeon towers to the world, which are very similar to the Battle Towers mod which I mentioned on this list, but also slightly different as each of these dungeons have a different unique appearance and size depending on the location or spawn that they're actually in. These towers house dangerous mobs, a whole bunch of loot, and different themed rooms to explore underneath. Usually though, the towers spawn above ground as an indicator where the dungeon is. Unlike the Battle Towers mod where you explore the full multi-floored tower, the dungeons in this mod actually go below the tower underground, and you are mostly just exploring underground dungeon passages and caverns. This mod is a perfect addition to any RPG style modern Minecraft or an adventure world, as it adds a lot more fun to the game and different dungeons to explore. You've probably already seen or played this mod if you've downloaded mod packs of this sort of theme. It's a pretty popular mod and it had to take number 1 on the list just for how fun it is. Shulker's Structures. This structure mod adds some more structures to your world, the first being the swamp huts that are more visually appealing than standard witch huts, although they lack purpose mostly. Then there's brand new towers that spawn in the hills and mountains, with enchanting rooms inside and treasure at their top. Barns also spawn a little further out from villages with animals around. There's also ancient structures which are called yekchols that spawn in desert biomes. There's also various other random and smaller structures in the mod too. Hunter Illager. If you like Illagers and love the village and pillage update, Minecraft 1.14.4, then you'll love this mod too because it adds a little similar content. It adds a brand new Illager mob type which is called the Hunter Illager, one that's slightly more reclusive and less attached to the usual band of Illagers. These guys are situated in plains biomes as hermits, and they live in wooden huts, trawling around their house. When they defeat the player, they'll echo a sinister laugh. If they are weakened, they will use any nearby or dropped items or loot to eat and take time to recover. Magda's mini village. Villages in Minecraft are great. It makes the game less lonely when you realise there's actually other people inhabiting the endless world, even if none of them seem to actually look like Steve. This little mod brings new village types to the game. They're a lot different and smaller than standard villages, and also pretty rare too, but they aren't restricted and they tend to spawn in the majority of biomes in the game. They can contain skeletons, colourful sheep, and a whole bunch of nice looking architecture and builds. In these villages there's the shepherd's house, farmer's hut, armourer's shop, and the sorcerer's tower that houses a prison which contains monsters. This is a simple mod, but I really like it just because I like villages. Illusionaire Tower. A simple mod bringing one brand new structure. The Illusionaire Tower is a building that naturally generates every 620 chunks out of 1 million chunks. This structure has Illusionaire spawners and a custom loot chest which can naturally generate bows and arrows, golden carrots or gunpowder in them. This is a nice little random building spawn, just like the witch huts, to add a method of actually implementing the previously unused Illusionaire mobs into the game in a creative way. Thatched villages. This is a nice little mod that brings new village types into the game, inspired by traditional Korean architecture. These villages are added to the plains biome with houses that are mostly thatched but also tiled. These villages are just like vanilla villages, but in my opinion look a lot more beautiful, and the Asian architecture style adds a little variation into Minecraft that enhances the game just that little bit more. Sure, in Minecraft there's new different types of villages which are based on the biome that they spawn in since a few updates ago, but adding a brand new village type based on another culture also makes the game a lot better too. The mod adds a range of different NPC villages which are in the style of ancient traditional Korean architecture. These new village types spawn in the plains biome with thatched or tiled houses which have thatched roofs, which are made of beach grass, reeds, grass, frond, duckweed, and yak hair, which can be sheared to get their materials or fluid. If you want an Asian style civilization, this is the mod to have for some beautiful naturally occurring Asian architecture. Hardcore Battle Towers. One of my favourite subclass of structure mods are the Battle Towers mods. This mod, Hardcore Battle Towers, puts a little different spin on the Battle Towers mods by making them much tougher. Remember, the key word here is hardcore. With a bigger skill curve and increased difficulty, there's plenty more mob spawners than usual with bigger monster hordes, while still having hard bosses as usual at the top. There's a big list of different towers in this mod too, each with different bosses. These are the Cobblestone Tower, Sand Tower, Ghost Tower, Obsidian Tower, Nature Tower, Water Tower, Nightmare Tower, Ender Tower, Ice Tower, Eldorado Tower, and also the final one, which is the Nether Tower. The thing I love about this mod is that each tower has a different size and look to them, and the structures have a lot of effort put into building and developing them, not to mention that each and every boss that inhabits each type is completely different, each with various abilities. DungeonDQ. This mod brings over 90 different dungeons, towns, and various building types of all different sizes. From small to medium and large, these buildings are all different and interesting and use special blocks. These places contain interesting treasures and can be tough to clear or tackle. There's absolutely huge castle structures, large scale villages to explore, massive arenas, very big temples and fortresses, and more. These structures all generate in very different locations, from inside caves, below mountains, or just floating in the sky. It's an interesting mod with some unique mobs along with them that inhabit these compounds. Wesley's Roguelike Dungeons. Next up is a mod that adds procedurally generated randomized dungeons into Minecraft, which are inspired by the original Roguelike Dungeons mod. The great thing about this one is that the actual structures themselves are based off the biome that they are situated in. So if you're in a normal plains biome, they will look a certain way, but dungeons in the desert or icy locations, or even the jungle or nether, will look entirely different and utilize a different selection of block types. In each of these dungeons is a unique boss that has useful loot. Not only this, but the mod also actually adds a new dimension, which is basically an infinite dungeon world. If you account for all of the randomized structures and possibilities, then this mod has up to 800 different structures contained in it. There are 5 different dungeon types, each with 4 levels, 3 of them being normal and the 4th being the largest lair that's a little bit different to the others. These dungeons are huge, but they're pretty rare to generate. Towers of the Wild. If you're a fan of Zelda and the classic or even the newer titles in the franchise, then this mod will tickle your desires. This mod is inspired by the game The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Basically, it adds tall towers to your world, like from the game, to make your exploring just a little bit more interesting. If you climb all the way to the tip of these towers, you will find some nice loot in a chest, as well as be surrounded by a great view. Not only does this look truly awesome, but when you see them from a distance, they're a sight to see, especially if you see them in the forests. Dungeons Plus. Bringing 5 all-new dungeons to the game, each with maps to guide you on your journey to the next one, to and from them, Dungeons Plus is a really nice mod that brings some variation to the game. This mod adds dungeons of different types and styles. The first being towers, which are multi-floored complexes that have different mobs spawning on each level, with a ton of awesome loot to collect when you beat them. These are a spin on battle towers. The first 3 platforms in these are completely randomized, and you could encounter spiders, zombies or skeletons on each floor. The 4th floor is also a Vex floor, and these towers can spawn in plains, forests, aka forests, roof forests or birch forests, as well as mountain biomes. The next type is buried dungeons, which generate underground, containing 3 different spawner rooms. You will find zombies or skeletons, and in some rooms you can find husks and strays in. In these husk or stray rooms will be the usual map, which will lead you to the next dungeon type. Type 3 is the Leviathan. These are ancient skeletons that sit on the deserts, which contain secrets below them when you mine down. When you do dig down, you'll be surrounded by husks. Then there are snowy temples, which are icy maze pyramids, which are inhabited by strays around every nook and cranny of them. The final structure type is the End Ruin. To unlock these ruins, you actually have to do something first. You must defeat the Ender Dragon to gain entry to the Outer Islands. It's in these locations that you may find the structure. At the tower's top, you will find a dragon egg, although there's not really too much loot here, but a whole lot of enemies instead. Repurposed Structures. This mod is all about taking those standard vanilla structures and then creating modified versions of them in the form of new variants and different similar structures with some modifications to them. This mod has a total of 12 dungeon types, 14 new mineshafts, 4 new monuments, 3 ancient cities, 11 new villages, 16 temples, 4 new igloo types, 14 pillager outposts, 4 shipwrecks, 8 mansions, 6 new witch huts, 5 ruins,
an Ender-themed ruin portal, a Nether-themed end city, an Overworld-themed end city, a Nether stronghold, an End stronghold, an underground bastion in the Overworld, and 6 new well types for the biomes. Now that was an exhausting list, but it really does showcase how much variation you get in this particular mod. Recurrent Complex. This is perhaps one of the most densely packed structure mods out there. It adds a total of more than 200 totally randomized structures, and this is the single most important mod if your world is completely bare bones. There's everything from forts to shrines, ruins, underground hidden treasure rooms, inns, windmills, graveyards and towers, mazes, meteorites, pyramids, big trees, abandoned houses and mines, and even pirate hideouts. Exploration Plus. The structures added in this specific mod are in a vanilla style and include the Forgotten Well, the Aztec-looking jungle temple, the shrine with a campfire in its center, the underground temple, which features different rooms such as a library and it's covered in cobwebs, the floating island, which is kind of like an oasis with trees in the sky, and some small details that spawn around the world, such as large oak trees and small mounds of logs. Castle Dungeons. This mod adds procedurally generated castles with randomized interior layouts, which are dungeons that sit on the surface level of the overworld. These castles each have different rooms inside, which are very similar to a stronghold, such as libraries, mob spawner rooms, TNT rooms, and winding staircases like that you find in the underground Roguelike Dungeons mods. This is a great fantasy mod where you'll find some danger, some extra loot, and something new to decorate the wildlands with. Awesome Dungeon. This structure mod piqued my interest because the structures which it adds are absolutely massive. These are on a much larger scale than what you're probably used to in a structures mod. They're absolutely giant, like the giant jungle tree, the abandoned oak palace, the better jungle temple, which in my opinion is more pleasing than the vanilla one, and many more structures like the swamp temple, the desert husk temple, a Z tower, the abandoned mushroom structure, and a witch's castle. All of these structures are very impressive in their build, and it's not just your simple structure mod where it adds some reskinned vanilla buildings. These ones actually have time taken into how they were built. Dungeons Enhanced. This vast dungeons mod adds so many structures to the game that it's even hard to count. It removes the repetitive nature of the bland vanilla structures and adds 21 new ones that you can now explore, all having the basis of a medieval fantasy theme, which makes it a perfect RPG style mod. Many of these structures are actually based on the vanilla structures and are upgraded versions or some kind of variant or offshoot of them. There's everything from huge mazes under large trees, giant castles or spooky and forgotten temples, or towers full of the undead. You'll be exploring deep crypts, jungle temple monuments covered in grass and vines, and some eerie and dark places. Workshops of Doom. When presents come at Christmas, it's all thanks to Santa and his elves working tirelessly in their workshop. What if something wrong happened? Well, the Illagers have taken over Santa's workshops and they're creating their own toys of doom, collecting all of the surrounding natural resources. Quarry structures will now generate in the plains and deserts. Mine structures will generate in badlands and mountain biomes, and workshop structures generate in icy biomes, including the snowy tundra, snowy mountains, and icy spikes. The mines and workshops are fairly large and they take some time to generate, but exploring them is even more challenging as they contain twisting tunnels and they have defenders inside which protect the loot, which is stored in the vaults below the workshops. Shrine structures. This ever-expanding structure mod adds a dense collection of varied structures and buildings that spawn naturally within the overworld, coming in special styles. These different builds spawn as special monuments, each with a story to tell behind them and in different architectural styles. The unique algorithm in the Shrines mod allows for structures to create new variants of themselves, so there will be multiple unique styles for each of the structures, meaning they won't always look the same. Many of these new structures actually contain a ton of secrets and special loot to acquire hidden deep down below in the depths, below the buildings, or within them in their chests. Stoneholm underground villagers. I love the different types of villagers in vanilla Minecraft. They come in different visual styles which are based upon their spawning biomes. But what if there was some kind of nuclear disaster? Or what if some world emergency meant that everyone had to live underground? What would happen to villagers then? Well, they'd go underground, of course. In this mod, new villagers will spawn underground, featuring sprawling mazes consisting of winding hallways and different floors with multiple rooms, with villagers and vendors, bedrooms, profession stores, and also some abandoned secret sections which are full of treasure and loot if you happen to find them.
If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you disagree with the top structure mods in this video and you think I missed your favourite structure generation mod, then definitely let me know what it is in the comment section so I can feature it next time. If you want to see more top 10 Minecraft videos like this and daily gaming videos such as GTA 5 and more, subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you don't miss out on daily uploads. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.